The UCSF School of Medicine's dean has been named in a defamation suit by a faculty member who used to be one of the deans at UCSF Fresno, used to be an associate dean. And the suit here in this document says that he was retaliated against by the School of Medicine's dean and made out to be the scapegoat for the dean's financially catastrophic error. This article was published yesterday, March 7th, in a publication called The Reporter. I hesitated to record this and spent the whole day thinking about whether or not I want to record this video and whether or not I want to talk about this thing. I'm very intentional about the things I put on this channel, and I keep them focused on me and things that are connected to my story. I also created this space for connection with the intention of connection and healing. And as the custodian of this space, it's very important to me that I come from a place of connection rather than destruction, and also that I am centering myself and that I'm doing things in a way that's edifying and respecting of myself and my story and my journey, despite talking about things that could very much be categorized as messy. I don't like mess. At the same time, people have different definitions of mess. My definition of mess is when I'm not connecting to other people. Whenever I stop seeing myself in others, whenever I start to think that I'm different from, and I'm not able to see my own reflection in other people, mess starts. That's how mess is created for me, in my head. By my definition, by my standards, my opinion of mess is mess happens when I don't see myself in other people. And so by those standards, when I look at injustice or when I look at situations where I have been hurt or harmed, or situations where I'm not being honest, I'm like, oh, I'm not being honest because I'm taking responsibility for how another person is going to be perceived. So I'm not going to talk about this thing because I'm concerned about how another person is going to take it. That is me being messy, right? Because I'm not centering myself, one, and I'm also not seeing the connection that exists when I allow myself to be me and other people to see themselves reflected in me and in my story. I get to be one of those people whose feelings I care about when I'm like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I don't want people to look bad. I get to be one of those people, right? I get to be one of those people who's honored by my compassion, by my consideration, my kindness, whatever you want to call it. And oftentimes, and what I was taught to do is not be one of those people, not consider myself as one of those people, right? When things happen to me, oh, and that very much lines up with what I'm going to talk about today in this case between the regents and the dean of UCSF Medical School, which I know, this was a very good recruitment, okay? It says you can stay forever. Clearly not for some people. For some people, maybe. And I have kept it because it's a part of my story. I was like, what are the chances that this is a shirt? But also, I am honoring myself and my story, and I'm honoring this shirt and the energy of this shirt and just the person I was when I got this shirt by wearing it, because that person is still a part of this journey, still part of my life. And yeah, I just see it as a souvenir from when I got love bombed into medical school. The first stage of narcissistic abuse is love bombing and idealization, which I digress. That is a future podcast episode. I'm working on it. But today, the UCSF School of Medicine's dean has been named in a defamation suit by a faculty member who used to be one of the deans at UCSF Fresno, used to be an associate dean. And the suit here in this document says that he was retaliated against by the School of Medicine's dean and made out to be the scapegoat for the dean's financially catastrophic error. This article was published yesterday, March 7th, in a publication called The Recorder. And the headline is News, UC Regents, Dean of UCSF Medical School named in defamation suit by faculty doctor. This is behind a paywall, and it was written by Michelle Morgante, who is the regional managing editor of The Recorder. The Recorder, I think, it's a publication about lawsuits. And this document I have in front of me outlines the entire lawsuit. And it says here what you need to know. Dr. Michael Peterson was the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education at UCSF Fresno. The suit alleges he was found responsible for errors made after he no longer had such duties, and that UCSF Fresno trains 300 physicians and 300 rotating medical students each year, which is true. I mean, it is one of the rotation sites for medical students. Anyway, I got access to this document yesterday and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is my story happening, not exactly, but very similar tactics that were done to me happened to someone who is of a much higher caliber, and nobody is safe. You're telling me I could have gone through all of that medical training, I could have started seeing patients, all of that stuff, and then one day, all of that goes away, comes crashing down because somebody who had power over me decided that they didn't like me anymore? Are you serious? This man is a white man. He is a physician, has been hired by UCSF since 2002, was an associate dean. I think, is that what he says here? This whole thing is like 23 pages long or 24, and the suit itself, the lawsuit itself, and the documents of the lawsuit, its details are like 20 pages long, and it outlines in a lot of detail what happens, right? And it is this dean versus the Regents of the University of California, a public entity, and the dean of the School of Medicine is named here, an individual, and I think there's like Does, which is like John Doe, Jane Doe, 1 through 20. Those are the defendants. The plaintiff is this doctor or faculty member / associate dean, vice dean, I don't know. Okay, I need to set some limits on what I'm going to talk about. I journaled about whether or not I wanted to make this video, and I wrote in detail. I was like, why? I journaled about it, reflected about it. I was like, why do I want to make this video? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about, I've already talked about why I want to make it, because I really relate to a lot of aspects of this, and because it validates it validates my experience. The whole thing of, what if they look bad? Da, 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 da. That is my trauma response of taking responsibility for other people and abandoning myself in the process, right? That is a trauma response. The people who look bad should have thought about that when they were doing the thing. It is not my responsibility to abandon myself and protect people who harmed me. Period. End of story. Okay. The other thing about this is all according to this document. I don't know what happened. These are allegations. Allegedly. Everything in here is alleged. Allegedly. In the voice of Jesse. Allegedly. It is all alleged. I don't know these people, aka they are public figures, but I don't know them, as in I don't go to their houses and talk to them as people. I know their life story and know what they went through and understand their motives and I don't know them. I'm just speaking based on things that are in this document that was retrieved from the Recorder. I'm going to link it in my description somewhere. Like I said, it's behind a paywall, but please, like, if folks want to access it, it is public information. And I am based on this, talking about my experiences and what resonates. And I am going to be biased because I'm reading this and parts of it are resonating with me. So that is the bias I have, is towards the part of it I can relate to. And that's what being a human being means, is that I see myself in other people, in situations and circumstances. Whew! All right. If this could happen to him, it could happen to anyone. And I think I'm saying this because when I started talking about this, it was just like, well, it's just you. You're the problem. Blah, 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 blah. That's not what all was said, but those were the comments that got to me the most at the time, because I was having a hard time believing myself. Again, what I put out into the world and what I see in the world is a reflection of me and what's going on inside. And the comments that got to me at the time the most were comments like that, because there were parts of me that didn't believe me, right? That didn't believe my own experience, that were kind of like, yeah, maybe they're right. And I kept talking about it anyway. And so it feels validating to see that this could happen to someone of this person's stature, right? This person enjoyed a 22-year career at UCSF Fresno. It says this person has enjoyed a 22-year career at UCSF Fresno, beginning in 2002, was hired as UCSF Fresno Chief of Medicine and UCSF Vice Chair of Medicine, and promoted to Associate Dean in 2016. Held a dual role that included a faculty appointment. In November of 2021, the defendants, which is the School of Medicine's Dean and the UC Regents, bifurcated Dr. Peterson. I said a name. They bifurcated this person's role of Associate Dean and created two positions. Are names allowed? I don't know. I don't know anything about this. Like, this is public information, okay? Fuck this. So Dr. Peterson is the person in question. Michael Peterson enjoyed a 22-year career at UCSF Fresno. And the thing in question here is finances, right? So the case is about finances and mishandling of finances. His responsibilities with regard to overseeing the invoicing practices that UCSF had ended in July of 2021, okay? According to this document, allegedly. His career as Associate Dean was abruptly interrupted in March 2023 and then ended on March 15, 2024, after the defendant, again, the defendants are the Regents, and Dr. Talmadge King, the Dean of the UCSF School of Medicine, falsely and maliciously accused him of improperly invoicing Community Regional Medical Center in Fresno, CMC, without its knowledge, right? They said that he invoiced the Regional Medical Center without their knowledge for items that the defendant did not agree to pay. And in doing so, allegedly, the defendant ignored that UCSF Fresno and CMC, which is where trainees get their training at UCSF Fresno, had an 18-year contractual relationship, during which time the invoicing practice at issue was known, agreed to, and routine. Allegedly. And it also says here that the defendant ignored that Dr. Peterson's responsibilities with regards to overseeing these practices ended in July 2021, right? Allegedly, this man's role was bifurcated, and the part of the role that had to do with invoicing was shifted. It says here that allegedly, in the months preceding these false and malicious accusations, Dean King specifically made one of two financially catastrophic errors. Negotiated a new affiliation agreement with CMC that did not cover all of UCSF Fresno's expenses. Remember, with the Community Medical Center? Regional Medical... I don't know what CMC stands for. Somebody help me. Community Regional Medical Center. I think that is CRMC. Also, CMC means something completely different in the School of Medicine. While I was reading this last night, I was like, CMC? CMC? That's our like clinic days. Those are our clinic days where we get coaches and we practice like listening to the heart and the lungs and doing physical exams. Like, our CMC days in the CMC in the Bridges curriculum is not CMC here. So I was just like, huh? What? Several times. When I would read it, I'd be like, I'm sorry. The other CMC? Anyway, medicine is littered with all kinds of abbreviations. Anyway, okay. Back. new affiliation agreement with CMC that did not cover all of UCSF Fresno's expenses. And the second error, he either did, it says one of two, right? So the first error could be that he had negotiated a new affiliation agreement with CMC that didn't cover all of UCSF Fresno's expenses, or it could be that he interpreted the new affiliation agreement between this medical center and UCSF Fresno in a way that created more than $1 million in deficit spending per year. Okay, allegedly, Dean King denied knowledge of UCSF's 18-year-old invoicing practice, castigated Dr. Peterson, along with the former Chief Administrative Officer for UCSF Fresno, Carolyn Henke, for UCSF Fresno's historical invoicing practices, and brought baseless, malicious, and professionally injurious charges against them to scapegoat them for his mistake. Allegedly. Allegedly. It's all alleged. Okay. And that shattered Dr. Peterson's career, destroyed his professional reputation, disrupted his economic well-being, and visited chaos upon UCSF Fresno. Allegedly. Also, this is written very like old style Shakespeare. Visited chaos. Visited chaos upon UCSF Fresno. Above all else, it violated the law. I was like, oh Lord. When I was reading this yesterday, I was like, oh Lord. Oh, I as soon as I got to this house, I need to go buy popcorn. And I did buy my popcorn. Smart Food white cheddar. Yes. Okay. Whew. I'm already tired. I haven't even gotten to the case. I'm already like, oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. Oh my God. Jesus. This is crazy. You guys, this is insane, right? Also, the way people fight in the courts, it's very civil. They could be like, fuck you, in cursive, right? Like the language of this document is very like fuck you, but like in cursive. I saw the girls are fighting. The girlies are fighting. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right. It says here, the next section talks about the parties. Dr. Peterson is a California resident. He was hired by the defendants in 2002. The defendants are regents, the defendant regents. It says where it's located. They're doing business in Fresno. The UC regents are located in California. And then the language is crazy. The plaintiff, it says this several times, plaintiff is informed and believes and thereon alleges that the supervisors and managers set forth, because this is, remember Jane Doe or John Doe 1 through 20, are people who were involved in this thing that are included in the defendants, but they're not named. They're agents, employees, and or servants of defendants, and performed acts complained of herein in the course and scope of such agency, employment, and or servitude, and acted with the consent, ratification, permission, knowledge, and or authorization of defendants. It says here, all of defendants' acts or conduct alleged in the claims into which this paragraph is incorporated by reference were consented to, ratified, approved, and or authorized by the officers and or managing agents of defendants. Defendants are sued in their own right and on the basis of respondent superior. Defendant Talmadge King is the Dean of the School of Medicine for the Regents at the University of California, San Francisco. The plaintiff is informed and believes, and based on such information and belief, alleges that the defendant is a resident of blah, California. Okay. In addition to the defendants, they sue, talks about 1 through 20, because their names, capacity, status, or facts showing them to be liable are not presently known. So this is also being done while not knowing the full facts of the case for reasons that will be talked about later. This man's email and all of his records were taken from him. Like happened to me. Meanwhile, they're expecting me without having my records, and it's still ongoing, by the way. They still refuse to release my records. You're expecting me to do what? I need the information that you're withholding from me to show you what you did. but you're somehow holding on to it. Anyway, it says that their names, capacities, status, or facts showing them to be liable are not presently known, but they are DOE 1 through 20. The plaintiff is informed and believes, and therein alleges that each of the fictitiously named defendants are responsible in some manner. So, young staff members who are like acting on behalf of the school, and your lawyers are telling you, do this, and you're like, yes. Staff members, faculty, whoever, right, is involved in things like this and is acting in a way that is dodgy when they go to court. You shall be involved in the filing, right? Like, it's here. It says that they are responsible in some manner for the occurrences herein alleged, and that such defendants caused the plaintiff's damages as herein alleged. And the plaintiff will amend this complaint to show their true names and capacities together with appropriate charging language when such information has been ascertained. Okay? So when I'm thinking that this is probably going to grant more access to records. I'm just guessing. I don't know. And this person is informed and believes, and therein alleges that each of them was at all times relevant, serving the agent at all times relevant here, the agent, servant, employee, and a representative of the other defendants, and was acting at least in part within the course and scope of such relationship, and that each and every defendant is jointly and severally responsible and liable to plaintiff for damages hereinafter alleged. So people who are the foot soldiers of the deans and the foot soldiers of whoever is like doing crazy shit and inflicting harm and damage, right? Which, like I said before, a lot of us end up in these situations where there's moral injury being done and there is harm being done, and we're witnessing it and we're facilitating it for the sake of, I want to keep my job, which is a very unfortunate position to be in. Like, I understand that. And at what point is enough enough? So I really appreciate that it's being named here, that it wasn't just the dean and the regents that were acting on their own, that there's several people. What the fuck? Annoying. I hate that sound. It's the sound of a truck backing up. Thank you. That they were acting and liable to the plaintiff for damages hereinafter alleged, right? To be in that situation is like, oh God, I don't like this, but who's sending the email? Who's withdrawing the key card? Who's spreading the information? Who's sending, just all of that stuff. All of those people. Yeah. When someone is ganged up on like that, and when people come together to do things that cause harm, you are also jointly and severally responsible. All right. It goes over venue and jurisdiction. This was filed in the County of Fresno. It has a stamp here at the very top. Superior Court of California, County of Fresno. It was e-filed on February 22nd at 7:38 p.m. But the reason why this became available only yesterday is because on Thursday, which was the 6th, there was finally a notice of case management conference, which is another CMC. But a case management conference, and then a judge was assigned to the case, and that happened just on Thursday. But this lawsuit was originally filed in Fresno on February 27th at 7:38 p.m. All right. So there's a case management conference, CMC, and a judge has been assigned to the case. That will be taking place on July 10th. So July 10th, we'll get an update. And at that conference, they'll either decide that they want to settle or that they want to take it to trial based on, whatever happens there. And it says that here. Oh my God. 7/10/2025 at 3 p.m. in Fresno. And all of these people are required to be there. The Dean of the School of Medicine, Dr. Michael Peterson. I'm assuming they're going to be attorneys who are representing them. Yeah. Jesus. All right. I need I need some water. This is too much. All right. Oh, Lord. Now I have some water. All right. So I'm not having fun. This is not fun. This is not fun. You know what? Sometimes it's not fun to show up for yourself. And then I tell myself, I am worth showing up for. I'm worth, because I don't hesitate to do hard shit for other people. I really don't. I'll do hard shit for other people all day long, all the time. I'm like, oh, something's hard. I'll do it for you. No problem. But then for myself, I'm like, oh, doing hard things for myself. That's so hard. It's like, yeah, I'm like the one who's worth it the most. Like, I'm the most worth doing hard shit for, you know? So that's why I'm doing this. All right, lock in. The details of the case. So like I said, this has something to do with negotiations, budget, something. The general allegations, alleged general allegations. We already told you, he was hired, Dr. Michael Peterson was hired in 2002 as UCSF Fresno's chief of medicine. From my research, this man is a pulmonologist and did a lot of work anybody can go look this up, public information. Did a lot of work to help establish UCSF Fresno. Back in 2002, I bet it was just dirt. Not really, I don't actually know that. But UCSF Fresno has been something that has been in the works over the years. It's in the Central Valley, and the mission of UCSF Fresno is to serve people in the Central Valley. A lot of farm workers and immigrant/migrant workers are out there. A lot of people are underserved in that population of folks who are out there. The Central Valley is like, they call it like the breadbasket of the nation, basically. And there hasn't been a lot of resources and emphasis as much as there should have been based on the needs of the people out there. And there's a lot of environmental racism. There's a lot of just whatever you can think of that is a health disparity existing in Fresno. There's even a program and a partnership between UCSF that trains people in the medical school who are from the Central Valley so that they can go back there and train there and become physicians there. Students at UCSF elect to do some of their rotations at UCSF Fresno. UCSF, important, really cool initiative. Love it. In November 2021, this person's role was bifurcated, and he assumed the role of Associate Dean of Undergraduate Medical Education and Research. That became his new role. And there was another position created that was the Associate Dean of Graduate Medical Education and Clinical Affairs. And this was assumed by a certain Dr. Lori Weichenthal. I'm not sure how to say that. I did look into Dr. Lori, and Dr. Lori has passed since from a terminal illness, chronic illness, I'm not sure. She was an emergency medicine physician and really helped build out UCSF Fresno's wilderness medicine program, and was very, very loved. Such an inspiration to women in medicine. Really, really cool person from all accounts that I can see. Oh, also, she was a yoga instructor, which I'm a yoga instructor. And I was just like, oh my God, girl. Love that for her. And like, love that she was an EM. And like, she really took a lot of initiative to create wellness initiatives and like emergency medicine training, wellness stuff. Just like, wow, there are a lot of people who are trying to make medicine better. And it's really, really cool. And honestly, I believe that at the bottom of their heart, everybody's trying to make medicine better, even when they fuck things up. And that the only reason fucking things up happens is because some of us forget not to fuck ourselves up first. Some of us forget to take care of ourselves. Some of us sacrifice so much of ourselves that we take on horrible shit that medicine requires people to do. And then we become horrible shit and we justify it, and we're in denial about it. And we find ways to justify doing crazy things like ganging up against a colleague, allegedly. And that is apparently what is required to be a leader in medicine, is some degree of becoming the villain in your own story, like some degree of dehumanizing yourself and then dehumanizing other people. Anyway, I am so glad. I'm so glad I never became a medical, whatever dean, whatever leadership. I'm so glad. UCSF Fresno, it talks about all of the stuff that I've talked about with training and stuff here. And then it talks about how there's an agreement that people who are affiliated must agree to cover the full cost of services provided by UCSF, either through the reimbursement of indirect costs or by payment for specific services provided. Since 2005, they have invoiced CMC for services that included a blended rate. So there's a blended rate, which is an average of resident salary, which is different across years, plus associate benefit and rate of administrative fees, liability, insurance, IT networking, field service, academic, human resources. And these salary costs are determined by University of California Office of the President determines these costs in the year 2017 to 2018. And I'm guessing that all of these things are like based on his recollection of events. Overhead fee was added to the blended rate for all UCSF Fresno affiliate partners, including CMC at the rate of 7%. Since 2005, he understood that CMC knew about these charges and agreed to pay them. So when he took a position, there was a position he took in 2015, January until July 2021, he reviewed and approved the graduate medical education invoices to CMC. And then around September 2020, Dr. Lori Weikenthal was appointed to serve as designated institutional officer for UCSF Fresno. And then after July 2021, all of Dr. Peterson's responsibilities with regards to invoicing of CMC were transferred to her. By August 2021, she assumed all invoicing responsibilities. Because remember, this is going to be important. This July 2021 date and August 2021 date is going to be important because later on, the accusations that are made against Dr. Peterson come back to this fact. All right. So November 2021, and I saw this online, Dr. Weikenthal was then elevated to the role of Associate Dean of Graduate Education and Clinical Affairs. She did not report to Dr. Peterson. She was not under his supervision. She became another Associate Dean. Remember, Dr. Peterson became the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education and what? Research. All right. I am not a journalist. I'm trying to get these facts straight. Sometime between January 2018 and March 2022, UCSF and CMC entered into negotiations for a new agreement, and they created a spreadsheet with footnotes identifying all the charges incorporated into the billing. And that was their habit and their custom for 18 years prior. Dr. Peterson was part of those affiliation agreements beginning in January 2018. He was brought into the affiliation negotiation, and at the same time, the School of Medicine leadership, UCSF School of Medicine leadership, was also brought into it, including the Dean of the School of Medicine, Dean King, Defendant King, according to this. And the School of Medicine leadership took the lead role in these negotiations. Around November 2018, after analyzing UCSF Fresno's their budget, the discussion started to happen. Should they keep using the blended rate, or should they begin to use actual expenses while building the budget? And the Dean King, instructed UCSF Fresno to continue using the blended rate. Remember, the blended rate has in it resident salary, associate benefit rate and administrative fees, IT networking, all of that is in a blended rate. And then they add an overhead fee, right? At the rate of 7%. Whatever. Dean King said, keep using the blended rate, allegedly, in around November 2018. And I'm noticing the in or around because I don't think that this person has their email or the records that would show this exactly. This is based on his recollection, I'm guessing. In or around January 2020, UCSF and this community medical center reached an agreement for the resident/fellow budget line item, right? This is to pay the people who are training. At that time, the dean, Defendant King, instructed UCSF Fresno to remove the footnotes, allegedly. Allegedly, in January, there used to be a spreadsheet that had the footnotes that would talk about the details of the blended rate and the overhead and other things. Dean King instructed them to remove the footnotes that detailed the blended rates and other details from the master spreadsheet, and UCSF Fresno continued to invoice CMC in the same manner as it had in 2005. He was still in charge of sending these invoices. Dr. Peterson was still in charge of sending these invoices, but Dean King instructed UCSF Fresno to remove those footnotes, allegedly. In March 2023, Dr. Peterson had a dual appointment. Remember, he was now one half of that position that got split between him and Dr. Weichenthal, the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Medical Education and Research, and a member of UCSF Fresno faculty. He's a pulmonologist, I'm guessing in pulmonology. March 14, 2023, without advance warning or notice, he was summoned to a meeting with defendant UCSF's principal counsel. This thing says Nicholas Boilet, but unless they have a Nicholas Boilet and a Nathaniel Boilet has been getting CC'd in their communications with me. Unless there are two people who have the same name, it says here Nicholas Boilet. A Nathaniel Boilet is their principal campus counsel, one of the principal campus counsels who has been getting CC'd on things that have like that man, Dean King, and Joshua Clements, a non-UCSF employee, were in this meeting with Dr. Peterson, and the UCSF Vice Dean for Faculty and Academic Affairs, Christina Mangurian, who I looked up and is a psychiatrist. You know who else is a psychiatrist? The School of Medicine Dean for Student Affairs. What is it about psychiatrists that make them the choice for working with academic affairs and faculty and also student affairs? Because these are the most people-facing vice dean positions. So the vice dean or associate dean for the School of Medicine for Student Affairs is a psychiatrist. The UCSF Vice in Faculty and Academic Affairs is a psychiatrist. Could it be that they're manipulative? Could it be that they get in people's heads and play mind games, allegedly? Could it be that they are calculated and will frame you and betray you, allegedly? In this meeting, he was directed to turn over his UCSF badge. Imagine, out of nowhere, you get called into a meeting and you're ordered to turn in your badge, your keys, his UCSF cell phone with his passwords, and ordered to provide his personal password to the university's data systems, and informed that he was the target of an investigation based on allegations of improper budget, invoicing, accounting, and other financial practices related to UCSF's affiliation agreement with the CMC, clinical place. Not CMC that we go to, mine was on Wednesdays, or the other case management conference, the CMC clinic. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Out of nowhere, March 14th, it's going to be in a week, right? This was assigned yesterday, which was March 7th. So almost 3 years, no, almost 2 years ago, he was just summoned and his life changed forever. Imagine having a career since 2002 through 2023 for 21 years of your life, rising in ranks, becoming a leader, and then this just happens to you out of nowhere. Oh, Lord. Oh, this is a lot. This is a lot. He was placed on an investigatory leave of absence, directed not to take anything with him or to contact any university employee, and was escorted out of the building. This is the part where I was like, what the hell? I was like, what the fuck? This happens to faculty? This could happen to anyone? Allegedly, again, allegedly. Particularly distressing was the defendant's prohibition of Dr. Peterson contacting any of his patients for any purpose whatsoever. So patients suddenly had their doctor disappear on them, sorry. Suddenly, patients' doctor disappeared on them. People who were his trainees, your attending, disappeared on you. If you were in clinic one day and you were working on a rotation with Dr. Peterson and pulmonology rotation, whatever, as a medical student, the next day, Dr. Peterson wasn't there. Go ahead, people, we'll round on this patient tomorrow morning. Suddenly, there was no attending. You're done. He wasn't allowed to contact his patients for any purpose whatsoever, including to transition their care to another provider while he was on investigatory leave. The same way I disappeared on my classmates is the same way your attendees are going to disappear on you. Oh, Lord. This was the part where I was like, ah, shit. Nobody is safe. On that same day, Defendant regents took the same actions with UCSF Fresno Chief Administrative Officer Carolyn Henke, who reported directly to Dr. Peterson. So he was a supervisor for the Chief Administrative Officer of UCSF Fresno, and same shit happened to her. More than 6 months passed before he was given any information about the allegations being investigated or the policies he was accused of violating. Can you imagine? At least they gave me a dismissal letter that says this is why you're dismissed. And I bet these people are no longer going to do that. I bet they're just going to start dismissing people without telling them why they're getting dismissed. This is crazy. Oh my God. So this man is sitting at home like, what the fuck happened to me? And so on April 14th, he got dismissed. March 14th, April 14th, he goes to the right channels, right? The right channels according to him. Just like I did. He filed with the UC Whistleblower policy, alleging that the defendant, the Dean of School of Medicine, Dr. King, had engaged in the following conduct in violation of affiliation administration policy. Blah, blah, blah. He said that he was basically, that the dean had inappropriately placed him on investigatory leave for activities that he had no responsibility, oversight, or input, that beginning 5 months before the affiliation agreement was signed, right? The affiliation agreement, remember, it was signed, when was this? I don't know when it was signed, but he's basically saying that this agreement was signed 5 months after. Ow, my leg is falling asleep. Ooh. Oh my Lord. Ow. Okay, I might have to just stand for the rest of this. Honestly, this is so wild. Yeah, I'm just going to stand for the rest of this. I'm not even going to sit. This is crazy. And are you scared? Don't be scared. It's okay. I'm projecting. I'm scared. I'm scared. Oh my God. Anyway, it says here that this person was placed on leave for activities which he says he had no responsibility, oversight, or input for, and that this agreement was signed 5 months after he was in the position to do anything, right? His responsibilities were transferred to another associate dean, right? And that he says here that the action against him by the dean's office was retaliatory, and that a bunch of other shit here that he put in that whistleblower policy reports. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, actually. It does matter. It does matter. Those are all alleged. Doesn't matter for me. I can't relate to, I don't know, being a dean. Anyway. He says here that around, okay, the language is very careful here. It says he is informed and believes, and based on that information and belief, alleges that on or around April 25, which I think he's trying to say that he doesn't have evidence, basically, right? That's what this is trying to say, is that he doesn't have proof because his email is still not being allowed access to him. I don't know if that's true, actually. I don't know if that's true. But here it says that he's informed and believes, and based on that information and belief, alleges that on or around April 25th, individuals from the School of Medicine leadership filed a whistleblower complaint against him and Ms. Henke. School of Medicine leadership filed a whistleblower complaint against him. Well, April 14, April 25, 11 days later. And then it says that UC, blah, 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 the UC, right? Reasons defendant's investigation whistleblower complaint against Dr. Peterson and Ms. Henke lasted 11 months, during which time this man was denied access to his work, documents, his email, and the UCSF Fresno databases. Can you imagine? During that investigation, he was required to answer investigation questions without being able to review or reference any of the hundreds of communication he had created and received over the years relating to UCSF Fresno relationship with the community medical center. Can you imagine? I am gonna put you on leave. You are not allowed to defend yourself because you don't have the documents that you need to defend yourself to show proof that the things I'm accusing you of actually did not happen. I'm going to prohibit you from having any contact with anyone, any employee of UCSF you cannot have contact with for 11 months. And I'm also going to require you to answer questions regarding your investigation without giving you access to your emails. So if you answer the questions incorrectly, you don't have access to your emails. We can say that you lied, but we're also not gonna. Can you imagine the insanity of this shit? Like, what the fuck? But also, I lived it. Well, not at the level of being an associate dean for 21 years or a pulmonologist whose career got tanked, but I lived it. And this has the potential to visit any one of us at any time. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh, that would never happen to me. I'm very good at following the rules. I'm sure Dr. Peterson thought the same because I thought the same. That's not true. Let me be honest. You know what? That's hair in my mouth. I thought similarly. I was like, I'm good at following rules. I like rules. I'm a rule follower. And then they were like, do shit that's going to put your health at risk and make you want to unalive yourself. And I was like, no, I'm not ready to go down that route. I know where this is going and I don't like it. I am not willing to do that. And they were like, oh, bet? I'm like, we do have limits. We do have limits. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I don't know what Dr. Peterson's story is, but my point is none of us plan to be in this situation. And yet, this is potentially something that could visit any of us at any time. Crazy. Medical school students all the way to dean or vice dean, associate dean. And I'm sure this could, well, allegedly, I'm sure that this could happen to even the highest of the highest. Even this person who allegedly is doing these things to him, I'm sure that this fate could visit the Dean King at any time. I'm sure of it. If somebody above Dean King decides you're too much of a liability, sniff, sniff, zap, zap, bye. Do they talk about it? No, you just hear so-and-so step down. I don't know how this person's demotion got announced to the community, but you know oh my God. Let me continue. There was an outside attorney investigator who was investigating these questions, these things, and he told that person that his only responsibility was to review and approve GME invoices, that he wasn't responsible for it after July 2021, and that the community medical center knew about all of this, right? He hired counsel to represent him during the investigation. Dr. Peterson did. He hired someone to represent him during the investigation in accord with the protections afforded, and he's asking that the UC Regents cover this cost. It says here, defendants cover this cost because it is covered under the UC whistleblower policy and incurred at the expense of the attorney's fees, and quotes the section of the policy that supports that. Attorney's fees are covered. He is informed and believes, and based on this information and belief. Watch that very closely. That's very careful wording. He says that other witnesses interviewed by the outside attorney investigators stated that Dr. Peterson was not responsible for reviewing and approving invoices. So he had witnesses. This outside investigator knew that this man was not the right person. Well, allegedly, this outside investigator was told by other people that he was not the one responsible at this time. Despite this outside investigator, I said the words outside, didn't I? Allegedly, this outside investigator concluded that he improperly invoiced them between March 2022 and March 2023. And it talks about what the finding states. The finding states that the preponderance of the evidence supports a finding that starting in March 2022 and continuing through 2023, That's crazy. Starting in March 2022 and continuing through March 2023 for services rendered in February 2023, Peterson and other employees in UCSF Fresno's Dean's office issued invoices to CMC which have been paid for by CMC that included non-itemized and potentially inappropriate charges within invoice line items designated for resident salaries and benefits and fellow salaries and benefits that were not actually representing the cost of salaries or benefits for either residents or fellows. That is an allegation. This allegation is sustained. So this is what that outside investigation concluded. I should not put outside in quotes. Outside investigation. Because what the heck? That's what they say, and that's what they do with the Title IX office. I reported my case to the Title IX office and said all the things that happened to me with the Title IX office. And they were like, yeah, this case does not warrant investigation. We don't see anything that went wrong here. That was what I did before I took to YouTube. I went and I said, hey, you are the Title IX office, right? Because a faculty member who knew about this, filed a complaint on my behalf to the Title IX office. And I said, hey, Title IX office. They followed up with me. They were like, somebody filed something on your behalf about this being unjust and unfair. And I went to them and I said, hey, this is what happened. They collected a bunch of data to help them know where to go plug the holes in their system, and then told me that my case didn't warrant anything. I was naive enough to really think that a Title IX office, federal, right? A federally mandated Title IX office that is there to investigate things around discrimination, that they actually will do their job and be a neutral party. No. They are paid by UCSF. There is no way. It's like HR. There's no way they are going to actually investigate the institution. And I naively gave them the details just so that they can actually make their case more bulletproof and know what holes to plug and what files to hold on to and what things to throw out and how to frame themselves in the best position. With the help of Nathaniel Bulat, this outside attorney investigator found that Dr. Peterson's actions did not constitute improper governmental activity, but violated Regent's policy, blah, 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 blah. And then on March 15th, 2024, defendant, the Dean King, issued Dr. Peterson a letter stating that following the findings of independent investigation under the direction of blah, 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 he has decided that Dr. Peterson can no longer serve as Associate Dean. Consequently, your appointment as Associate Dean will be terminated effective immediately. I wonder what the news announcement for this that actually went out to everybody else, I wonder what it said. I'm actually going to look that up right now because I want to see how they broke the news to the campus community, because y'all, when y'all hear so-and-so has stepped down from their position, it's not a lot of euphemisms, I recently found out that they call students cheating in medical school. They call it unauthorized collaboration. Medical education calls it unauthorized collaboration. I was like, y'all are good. Michael Peterson, UCSF. It only has news here where he was named as the new dean. It doesn't have anything about oh yeah, his Twitter still says he's the associate dean. Yeah. Like his UCSF profile says, here it just says Professor Dean's office. It says here that he recently stepped down. He recently stepped down and is now focusing on his professional activity in research. Y'all are kidding me. Shady. So shady. Anyway, recently stepped down as if he did that voluntarily. The dean further informed Dr. Peterson that his salary would remain unchanged until the end of fiscal year, June 30th, 2024, and that the School of Medicine Dean's office would continue to provide him 75% salary support, whatever, only until okay. I'm guessing that this is for the expenses when they calculate how much that they're gonna actually owe him in damages. Like this is all for that. The page of this, there's like a page on the first page of the lawsuit. It says less than $35,000, and then the other one says more than $35,000, and that is the one that was ticked. So this is definitely costing them a pretty penny, more than $35,000. And I'm guessing it It is going to trial or going to be a settlement. Oh my Lord. Another thing that they did, so yeah, they finished their investigation. Then they had another ad hoc faculty committee to formally investigate the allegations, and that if he had an academic action or advancement packet, like a promotion packet, it would be held pending the outcome of the faculty misconduct allegation. And Dr. Peterson submitted a letter stating that more of him defending himself and all the stuff and telling people like, I didn't do this. I was not in this position for 7 months. This all happened 7 months after I was no longer in this position, blah, 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 blah. They put together a committee. UCSF Vice Provost Aldridge issued Dr. Brad Sharp a letter that confirmed his appointment as chair of the ad hoc committee. So this is fucked up, because what cults do, they will draw other people who are bystanders and now make them a part of the people who are fucking others over, right? Like, there are people who have left cults who will talk about how they had to be part of the mentorship committee, or like they had to be the ones teaching people how to do weird stuff, or like abusing other members of the cult, and that was because of the leaders of the cult pulling them in, right? Like, I had to teach the children that it was their fault, and I had to teach them all these things. And you know, I feel so, when people leave cults, some of the worst things that they heal from is the fact that they became part of the machinery that caused harm to other people. Not just harm being done to them, but that in the process they became part of the machine, and they actually caused harm to their colleagues, to people who looked up to them. So they issued another physician a position that made him a chair of this ad hoc committee to investigate, to do another investigation. The first one was by a subject matter expert, and it found that there was sufficient substance to warrant formal investigation. And then now they're going to have an ad hoc committee to do another investigation, right? To see if the faculty code of conduct was violated. I think sometime in July 2024, he filed another complaint alleging that after he filed his whistleblower policy complaint, he suffered a number of adverse personal actions, including the chancellor placing him on an overbroad investigatory leave. The dean of the School of Medicine terminated him from his associate dean position, and that the dean ceased support for his salary. And then the vice provost referring him for further investigation, despite him saying, guys, I was not in this position for 7 months. Vice provost held his advancement packet pending the outcome of faculty, or until after the imposition of discipline, right? All of this was happening. On September 16th of last year, about a month before I got dismissed, I'm trying to place this in my own timeline. Like, where was I? What was I doing? The regents notified Dr. Peterson that his whistleblower protection policy complaint was being closed without any further action, just like the Title IX office informed me that there was no basis for my case to be investigated. No basis. No basis. This was just a chance for them to find out everything they knew. Sorry, everything I knew, because they knew I don't have the email anymore, right? So they sent this person, the first time that this person and I met, this lady and I met, it was very like, wow, that sounds awful that happened to you. That's crazy. The second time after speaking to her supervisor, it was, can you tell me more? That doesn't sound probable. Why do you say that? Prove more to me. I was like, girl, I'm not about to sit here and over-explain myself to you. It sounds like you don't believe me anymore, and that's fine, but I was like, you say this is confidential. She's like, absolutely, it's confidential. This does not go to anyone. I won't tell anyone lies. Allegedly, I have cause to believe, and based on that belief, I'm using the language I learned from this thing. Based on that belief, I have cause to think that that woman was in cahoots. Allegedly. I don't know. But if I had to take a wide guess, I would guess. I don't have any proof. I don't have any facts. I don't know what happened, but I would guess that they were in cahoots. Because the way this case got thrown out as baseless, I was like, oh, the Title IX office that y'all are always telling us, can complain here, complain here. It is all confidential. You're protected. There is no protection. In a cult, nothing is a secret. Nobody has any privacy. There is no protection. It says here that the faculty misconduct investigation remains pending. So that ad hoc committee is pending. The vice provost continues to hold his advancement packet, and that all of these, their illegal treatment, alleged illegal treatment of the plaintiff, Dr. Michael Peterson, has resulted in significant economic loss and emotional distress. All of these defendants, the regents, the dean of the School of Medicine, Talmadge King, the staff members 1 through 20, the John and Jane Does 1 through 20, we're all in cahoots. Their illegal treatment of Dr. Michael Peterson has resulted in significant economic loss and emotional distress. So there are several claims for relief. The first one is a defamation libel against all defendants and Does 1 through 20. He talks about how there were writing defamatory statements about him, things that were not true about him, issuing invoices that were paid, that were included non-itemized and potentially inappropriate charges, alleged defamatory statements published. They were false, unprivileged. They published these statements knowing of their falsity. So people who are sending emails or not sending emails, aka release my fucking records. All of these things published were false and unprivileged and without a reasonable basis to believe their truth. These had a tendency to injure him and caused harm to him and expose him to hatred, contempt, ridicule, and obloquy. I looked up what that word means. Love the word obloquy. Obloquy. Strong public criticism or verbal abuse. So I don't know what he went through. I'm not at UCSF Fresno, have never been there. But the people within, I'm sure that there was talk of, I'm not sure. I don't actually know anything. But allegedly, there was probably talk. I would imagine, somebody rolled up to me and was like, oh yeah, that dean embezzled money. Or, oh yeah, that dean, da 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 da. I'm like, oh, injuring his reputation and current and future employment. Right, exactly. Exactly. My classmate disappears, they're gone. I disappeared, I was gone. Current and future employment. If I wanted to continue on in medicine, I would have to beg them to say something nice about me. Meanwhile, they've reported to the AAMC, whatever they reported to the AAMC about me getting dismissed, and then that gets reported to every other school that I would want to apply to go to, right? It says here that they allegedly published these statements with malice and the intent to injure and expose him to these things that he suffered. Libel was defamatory without necessity of and is libel on its face. It says here that the defendants acted with malice, oppression, and fraud. And as a result, Dr. Peterson suffered significant emotional distress, including anxiety, depression, re-traumatization, nervousness, humiliation, and harm to his professional reputation and his occupation as a faculty member. So that's first claim for relief. Second one, intentional infliction of emotional distress. It says here that what they did was extreme and outrageous, and it was intended to cause and did cause severe emotional distress. He has suffered and continues to suffer discomfort, anxiety, humiliation, emotional distress, and will continue to suffer serious emotional distress in the future in an amount according to proof. I'm guessing that amount will be revealed when they sit down. He is informed and believes that these wrongful conducts was done maliciously, oppressively, fraudulently, with a wrongful intent of harming and injuring him, and did in fact harm him with an improper and evil motive amounting to malice and unconscious regard of plaintiff's rights. As a result, he is entitled to recover punitive damages. Third claim, reimbursement of necessary expenditures. This is about, during the investigation, he had to hire his own defense and counsel. He hired an attorney, and he's asking that their fees be paid. And then the fourth one is for whistleblower retaliation. This is California Labor Code. He's an employee, and he reported the violation. And after he reported it, they retaliated against him by terminating his appointment as associate dean, among other adverse employment actions. It says here that he has incurred and will continue to incur expenses, loss of deferred compensation, benefits, earning capacity, wages, opportunities for employment and advancement, and work experience, all to his damage in an amount according to proof. He has suffered and continues to suffer, the plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer humiliation, embarrassment, mental and emotional distress, and discomfort, all to his damage in an amount in excess of the minimum jurisdiction of this court, the precise amount to be proven at trial. It says here that on information and belief, an officer, director, or managing agent of the defendant had advanced knowledge of the unfitness of aforementioned co-workers and supervisors and employed them with a knowing disregard for the safety of others. The conduct constituting malice, oppression, or fraud was authorized by one or more of the officers, and one or more of them knew of the conduct constituting malice, oppression, or fraud and adopted or approved that conduct after it occurred. So these people knew what they were doing, allegedly. Punitive damages are warranted, and he does not seek punitive damages against public entity defendant where not allowed by law. All right, this is just covering bases. Oh my God. So, yeah, he is suing for actual compensatory treble and liquidated damages, declaratory relief, injunctive relief, and that the court awards punitive damages to the plaintiff and civil penalties to the plaintiff. All right? And also attorney's fees and costs, and that the plaintiff be awarded pre-judgment and post-judgment interest on all monies awarded, granted all other relief as allowed by the law, and granted all other relief as the court may deem just and proper. And he demands a trial by jury for each and every claim for which he has a right to jury trial. And yeah, yep, like right here. Right here. See? It says unlimited, limited, 35,000 or less, unlimited. Right? See that? I said, all right. It is not, yeah. So, that is all. This is a lot. Even as I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I'm like, yeah, no, these people don't have power over me, right? Whatever I think I'm going to get from them or not going to get from them, I'm like, what if I put this out and then they never ever release my records? Then they were never going to release it. There is no trying to get their approval, right? Like there is no trying to get their approval anymore. It just makes what happened to me so much more real. Pulmonologist respected enough to become an administrator. And he got played like this. Got played. This is insane. I don't have a nice way to wrap this up in. Just, I thought I would share that and put it out there. And, I don't think that behind the scenes like this gets to be seen, and even when it's seen and known about, gets to be talked about. I don't think that happens. I think that rarely happens, that things are spoken of this plainly and honestly. And so I was like, yeah, I want to talk about it. I want it to be out there. I want folks to know. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, I didn't know it would be this soon. When I said in my last video that I'll see you all soon, I didn't know it was going to be this soon. This is really shocking and really sad, and I'm going to go edit this. I'm at 1 hour, 26 minutes now of editing that I'm going to need to do, and I'll put it out. And yeah, this is what a professional fight looks like, I guess. I've never seen things stated so plainly. And I also imagine all of the things that are being done that never make it to trial, that never see the light of day. Things like this that happen, allegedly happen, that never make it, that never see the light of day, and are never spoken of and are never talked about. This is going to be maybe my longest video on my channel, and very important. Very important. I did not, when I started this channel, I thought I was going to tell my story for like 2 videos and then be done, and it's turned into a project of love. and primarily, that's the mic, primarily love for myself, but also love for the part of me that people relate to. And those people too, who relate to these things, who are like, well, what the fuck? Who don't get to see the behind the scenes, whose parents are not faculty, who don't understand how these systems work, who don't understand the behind the scenes of what goes on in these systems, how bureaucracies work, who think it will never happen to me. None of us. It's like divorce. Nobody goes into a marriage thinking they're going to get divorced. And it's very unfortunate. And for me, in this moment, I'm just like, I wish somebody had told me that things like this happen behind the scenes, so that when it's happening to me, I can believe myself. More than anything, I want to know and have the confidence to believe myself when things are happening, and to know that I'm not the problem. And to just trust myself. I don't think I can get in any more quote unquote trouble than I'm already in. And it's sad and also real. They're very willingly holding onto my academic records. They're not releasing my academic records as we speak. And it's exhausting, you know? It's exhausting. And it's very clear that they're scared of something. What they're scared of, I don't know. Just send me the records. If nothing is wrong, send me the records. But here is a dean allegedly treated the way that I, as a medical student, was treated. That's the part that has me shooketh. Oh. I'm gonna go shake it off. I need to do some good shaking. You know, some shaking. It's dark already. The light slowly went away as I was recording. This is insane. This is insane. This is insane. I really came here thinking this is the best place I could train to be a physician. And for years, this logo meant so much to me. As a teenager, as a tween, as an undergrad. This is heartbreaking to all those past versions of me, to really see the insides of an institution and how it functions and what it really stands for. Allegedly. It's crazy. It's crazy. And for those who are inside, I don't know, like, you're not crazy. You're not crazy. And I don't know this man. I don't know Dr. Peterson. I don't know him. I don't know if he's a good guy, bad guy. I have no idea. I'm just thinking that based on my experiences and how clueless I was, that, I don't know, maybe this man was that clueless as well. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong between them. I don't know the internal politics of this. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm not saying anything is good or bad. I'm just saying that I don't know. I don't know the truth. And the things that were described here that I could relate to are the things I'm connecting to, because that happened to me to my face. And this doesn't make me happy to read. Like, I'm not reading this all gleeful. I'm reading this feeling really disappointed and really, really sad. Most of all, honestly. Anyway. Au revoir. And I will go edit this and release it tonight or tomorrow morning. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. I'm going to go watch the pit stop, the episode that got released this morning, and see what else shows up. And I don't know, maybe I'll never release this. I don't know. I'm going to journal some more. And if you're watching this, it's because I decided to post it. Goodbye. Okay, I'm just gonna start talking at some point. At some point I will. All right. Oh, you know what? There are a million things that I could fix. Anyway, let's pull up the file. 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 Let's pull up the file. 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 Pull up, pull up, pull up the file. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Pull up the file. I think we're good. I think that's enough. No, we're not doing that. We are pulling up the file. Pulling up the file. I'm putting shit off. All right.